Part 6, Academic Debates, Controversies, Lesser-Known Research, and Future Perspectives. Introduction. The study of Adam continues to generate scholarly discussion across disciplines, from theology to anthropology, philosophy, genetics, and cultural studies. While earlier parts of this audiobook examined historical, religious, and psychological dimensions, this final section focuses on ongoing academic debates, unresolved questions, lesser-known research, and how future scholarship may reinterpret Adam in the light of new evidence and perspectives. By examining controversies and research trends, we can understand why a concept originating thousands of years ago remains relevant today, both as a cultural symbol and as a topic of intellectual inquiry. Debates over historical versus symbolic interpretation. A central academic debate concerns whether Adam should be treated as a historical figure or primarily as a symbolic representation. Scholars in religious studies, biblical criticism, and theology frequently approach this question differently. Textual scholars argue that the Hebrew word Adam likely began as a collective term for humanity, reflecting cultural concerns about morality, survival, and social cohesion. Over time, traditions layered more personalized narratives, resulting in the perception of a singular first human. This view emphasizes the symbolic nature of the story. Conversely, traditionalist scholars maintain that Adam may represent a real individual, though even within this framework, interpretations vary. Some suggest Adam is literal, others argue he is representative, and yet others treat the narrative as theological rather than historical. The diversity of approaches reflects the complexity of ancient texts, translation history, and cultural context. Linguistic and textual controversies. The translation and interpretation of ancient texts have long fueled debate. Linguistic studies show that Adam and related terms like Adamo, earth, soul can be read both collectively and individually. Variations in translation across Greek, Latin, and Arabic have amplified differences in interpretation. For example, the Septuagint, the Greek translation of Hebrew scriptures, sometimes shifts meaning in ways that emphasize individuality or moral allegory. Scholars debate whether these linguistic shifts were intentional or arose from cultural and contextual misunderstandings. Additionally, textual criticism has revealed multiple editorial layers in Genesis, suggesting that different traditions and authors contributed over centuries. This complicates any attempt to determine a singular original portrayal of Adam. Scientific and evolutionary challenges. Advances in genetics, archaeology, and paleoanthropology continue to challenge literal readings of Adam. Population genetics demonstrates that all humans descend from large ancestral populations rather than a single couple, and fossil evidence confirms a gradual emergence of modern Homo sapiens over hundreds of thousands of years. Despite these findings, some scientists and theologians explore ways to integrate symbolic Adam traditions with evolutionary evidence. This has led to debates about whether origin stories can coexist with science without compromising ethical or theological meaning. Scholars increasingly emphasize that religious narratives address moral and cultural truths, while science explains mechanisms of human development. Comparative mythology and cultural transmission. Another area of scholarly debate concerns the cross-cultural parallels of Adam-like figures. Scholars note that many ancient civilizations contain origin narratives featuring humans formed from clay or earth, moral awakening, or divine guidance. Some argue this reflects cultural borrowing, others suggest independent development due to universal human concerns. Researchers explore whether similarities indicate shared symbolic frameworks or historical contact between cultures. This ongoing debate reveals how origin stories evolve, merge, and adapt over time. Lesser-known research. Recent scholarship has explored aspects of the Adam tradition often overlooked in mainstream discussion. For instance, some studies focus on cognitive archaeology, examining evidence of early symbolic thinking, ritual, and moral reflection in prehistoric societies. These studies suggest that Adam-like narratives may have been a cultural reflection of early human consciousness rather than a literal account. Other research investigates environmental ethics embedded in origin narratives. By emphasizing human connection to the earth, these traditions can inform contemporary debates on sustainability and ecological responsibility. Such perspectives highlight Adam's enduring relevance beyond theology or myth. Philosophical and ethical controversies. Philosophers continue to debate whether Adam narratives contribute meaningfully to modern ethical reflection. Some argue that literal interpretations encourage authoritarian or hierarchical thinking, while symbolic interpretations inspire moral responsibility, equality, and environmental stewardship. Another debate centers on free will versus determinism. Adam's choices, often framed as moral awakening, raise questions about human agency. Philosophers and psychologists examine these themes to understand how ancient narratives continue to shape ideas about autonomy, moral education, and societal norms. Modern interdisciplinary approaches. Contemporary scholarship often adopts interdisciplinary frameworks. Anthropologists, geneticists, theologians, and philosophers collaborate to explore how origin narratives intersect with identity, ethics, and human evolution. For example, a study of Adam may combine linguistic analysis, archaeological evidence, and ethical philosophy to create a more nuanced understanding. Interdisciplinary approaches also examine Adam's cultural influence in literature, art, media, and education. By tracing how ideas evolve across domains, scholars can identify patterns of continuity and adaptation. Future perspectives. Looking ahead, several emerging trends may influence Adam's scholarship. Advances in genomics could refine our understanding of human ancestry and population history, providing new context for symbolic interpretations. Digital humanities allow scholars to analyze texts, translations, and cultural artifacts with unprecedented precision. Global perspectives increasingly emphasize comparative study across religions and cultures, highlighting both shared motifs and local adaptations. Moreover, evolving ethical challenges such as artificial intelligence, climate change, and global inequality may inspire renewed engagement with Adam's symbolic lessons about moral responsibility, human agency, and interconnectedness. Scholars suggest that rather than being fixed, the Adam concept will continue to adapt as humanity confronts new existential and ethical questions. Conclusion of Part 6. Adam remains one of the most influential figures in human thought, not necessarily as a historical person, but as a symbol reflecting morality, identity, and collective responsibility. Scholarly debates demonstrate that interpretations are diverse, evolving, and multidimensional, encompassing linguistics, theology, philosophy, psychology, genetics, archaeology, and cultural studies. The enduring power of Adam lies in its adaptability. It has survived for millennia because it can be reinterpreted to address new social, ethical, and intellectual challenges. As scholarship continues to evolve, Adam serves as a mirror reflecting humanity's ongoing quest to understand itself, its origins, its moral obligations, and its place in the natural and cultural world. In conclusion, Adam is not simply a figure from religious narrative. He's a prism through which humanity has explored questions of consciousness, responsibility, ethics, and collective identity across history and into the present. The story of Adam, whether interpreted literally or symbolically, continues to provoke reflection, inspire scholarship, and shape cultural consciousness globally.